Everybody, welcome back into another video. My name is Ty. Thanks for clicking on this one. And today I wanted to talk about one of my favorite topics in all of metal and all of music, and that is non-Ozzy Black Sabbath. And I specifically wanted to talk about my top 10 favorite, what I think are the best non-Ozzy Sabbath songs. So Black Sabbath songs where Ozzy was not in the band or not on those songs at the time. And it worked out perfect because they have 10 studio albums without Ozzy on them. So instead of just doing a list of 5 Heaven and Hell songs and 5 Mob Rules songs, I decided to choose a single song from each album to make the list of 10, make it a little bit harder. I absolutely adore Heaven and Hell and Mob Rules, so I could have honestly just made a top 10 list of just those albums, but that's no fun. So I wanted to do this list, one song per record, really dive into the catalog, give you some probably popular picks, but maybe some deep cuts and controversial picks as well. If you like this type of stuff, hit the like button, subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Also, comment down below what are some of your favorite non-Ozzy Black Sabbath songs. What are your favorite eras of Black Sabbath? I'm a huge Ozzy fan and a huge early 70s Sabbath and 70s in general Sabbath fan. But honestly, like my kind of introduction to the band, it really started with the reunion record, the live album that came out, like 98, 99, whenever that dropped. And my uncle had the cassette, and that was in the garage, and he would play that in the garage sometimes. So that's really my first exposure to Black Sabbath proper, outside of just hearing Crazy Train and stuff and the popular big mainstream Ozzy singles, solo Ozzy stuff. And then later in life, as I grew up, started buying my own music, started discovering things, the Black Sabbath, the Dio Years compilation was getting announced and was getting a ton of press about it and getting released. And they were recording some new songs for that with Ronnie and Vinny. And I was super interested in that because at that point in my life, I didn't even know that Ronnie James Dio was ever in Black Sabbath. So I'm like, oh, okay, this is super interesting. I bought that Dio Years compilation, and the rest is history. I dove in. Heaven and Hell and Mob Rules are 2 of my all-time favorite albums, 2 of my favorite Sabbath albums for sure. And definitely my favorite era of the band is that Ronnie era, especially with Vinny on drums. And yeah, I absolutely adore that lineup. But I wanted to talk about these 10 records and talk about all the lineups, because after I found out Ronnie was in the band, I was like, what else is there? And oftentimes as a teenager, I would just sit there and scroll Wikipedia for hours at a time, and I would just read band wikis and absorb all that knowledge. And I remember looking at the Black Sabbath Wikipedia and finding out, oh, there's all these other albums that I had no idea about. There is multiple other lead singers in the band and multiple other lineups. So let's dive in. And I eventually started downloading those. Perfectly legal stuff, of course, but I eventually started downloading those. And this is before especially all the Tony Martin stuff was even on streaming. So it was hard to come by. And those albums were notoriously out of print. And then I dove into the Tony Martin stuff, and I'm like, I love Tony Martin. I love his voice. Absolutely adore it. I think he's a great singer. I think he perfectly fit what Tony Iommi was trying to do at that time. And to me, he's severely underrated as a singer and as a frontman. I adore Tony Martin, and I adore that Tony Martin era. So yeah, let's talk about some non-Ozzy Black Sabbath. Alrighty, so how I'm going to do this is I'm going to go, I didn't really rank these. I'm just going to go from newest to oldest. That's the way we're going to do it. And again, I did not rank these. I'm not going to take the time to do that. But yeah, let's get right into it with Forbidden. So had to choose a track off here. And I almost thought about Rusty Angels. I really, really adore that song. It's a super fun Sabbath song. That's super catchy. And it kind of really stands out in the catalog, especially on this album. But it's a personal favorite. But I really had to choose A Loser Gets It All. That is the Japanese bonus track that was released back in the day. And then it was also included on the CD box set for this. It's not on the vinyl. It's not on the LP, unfortunately. If you get the box set with all the Tony Martin albums, well, not all of them, but most of the Tony Martin albums, it's not on this version. But you can get it on streaming and get it on the CD set. I actually love Loser Gets It All. Awesome Cozy Powell drumming. I love Cozy Powell. Probably one of my top 2-3 favorite drummers of all time. You get some great Tony Iommi soloing, and it's a great Tony Martin vocal. The remix on this, not on this version, but you get what I'm saying. This is just the visual prop, but the CD and the streaming version, the remix thickens the guitar tone a lot, and it does use an alternate vocal take. So it is different than the original, but I think both of them are really great. It's a fun, energetic song. It stands out from the rest of the album. Honestly, Loser Gets It All should have been the album opener. It should have been on the album and not just a bonus track. But yeah, Loser Gets It All off this record, Forbidden, gets a thumbs up from me. Alrighty, guys, we're continuing on with the Tony Martin era. We're going to get into this record, which I absolutely love, Cross Purposes. And I had a couple options here. The Hand That Rocks the Cradle. I love that song. Really cool lyrics in there. I think this is a really good Tony Martin album. His vocal work throughout the whole album is really good. But I chose Cross of Thorns. That song is really good. I love the solo that Tony Iommi has on it, and it's a great song that I think would fit in with any of the Dio era albums for sure. Tony Martin's excellent on it. You get a super heavy main riff and really good acoustic guitar throughout the song too. It's melodic. It's heavy. It's classic, typical epic Sabbath track with some awesome Iommi riffing and one of my favorite Iommi solos, like I said before. So I had to go with Cross of Thorns. I could have picked a number of songs off this record, but Cross of Thorns does it for me. Comes in at number 9. Alrighty, guys. Another reason why I just adore the latter era Sabbath stuff is because the lineup changes and the lead singer changes is absolutely insane. Like the fact that Tony Iommi even got albums out is pretty amazing, and I honestly love the lore and the craziness behind releasing some of these albums more than I do the actual albums. Almost the story was behind them and the craziness and the lineup changes is absolutely fascinating to me. But yeah, we're gonna take a detour. Ronnie and Vinny come back into the band and they release this album, Dehumanizer. What a cool cover. I love this Sabbath logo too. They never reuse this at all. They never really reuse logos in general, but this logo is super sick. Number of songs I could have picked on here, but easily my favorite track is I love the bluesy intro riff into the massive main riff that drives the song along. Vinny's drums, absolutely massive on this. Ronnie sounds angry as hell on I. Great bass work by Geezer Butler. I think I is a classic that stands up to any Black Sabbath song, any era. It sounds like Godzilla stomping through a city, which is obviously what they were going for, but Iommi captures that perfectly. And then Ronnie's angry vocals over the top, awesome. I is easily, for me, the best track on Dehumanizer. The whole album is really good, but yeah, I features one of my favorite Tony Iommi riffs ever, so that has to come in at number 8 off Dehumanizer. Alrighty, guys, going back to Tony Martin for another pretty stellar album that I absolutely adore, and that is Black Sabbath's Tear. Lots of good tracks on here I could have picked. Anno Mundi is really, really good. But I went with the Sabbath Stones, man. Really epic, doom-filled Martin era track that kind of stands out in the Tony Martin era. You get a great bass line by Neil Murray. This lineup is pretty solid. I really love the Cozy Powell and Neil Murray combo. The album builds to the song builds with an kind of awesome, fast. It's building throughout the entire song to the fast-paced conclusion. Really cool. And then the ending of the song, you get an awesome solo by Tony Iommi. It's a great song. Sabbath Stones is a great song. To me, it kind of captures all the eras of Black Sabbath when in a song. And Cozy Powell is, of course, a beast. So yeah, I had to go with Sabbath Stones off Tear. That comes in at number 7. Alrighty, guys, this next one was really, really tough. It's one of my favorite Black Sabbath records. I listen to it constantly. I've adored it ever since I've first heard it and ever since I had to stream bad YouTube rips because I could not get it anywhere else. That is, of course, Headless Cross. What a killer of an album. I absolutely adore it. And I could have picked a number of tracks. The title track to me is essential Black Sabbath listening. The title track is stellar. But I went with Devil and Daughter. Awesome galloping bass line with a high energy riff throughout that kind of drives the song. Cozy Pal, of course, kills it. I think it's one of Tony Martin's best vocal performances. Easily, this entire record is in his Sabbath career, especially Devil and Daughter, though. And the keys on this record are awesome. I know a lot of people don't like them, but the keys on this record, they add so much atmosphere to every song and makes it very, very spooky, very creepy. I love the atmosphere and vibe they get on Headless Cross, especially Devil and Daughter. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Iommi nails it throughout. It's a standout. It's a standout track on an absolutely stellar album. If you've never listened to any of the Tony Martin era, I highly suggest Headless Cross. Give it a shot. Give it a chance. You might be surprised. And don't go into with preconceived notions of what you think Black Sabbath is. If you're expecting Volume 4, you're going to be disappointed. That's for damn sure. But if you go into it with an open mind, expecting to hear a really great late 80s heavy metal record, you're probably going to be surprised because, you can't really go wrong with Cozy Pal and Tony Iommi and Tony Martin. You really can't go wrong with those guys. So yeah, Devil and Daughter comes in at number 6. Alrighty, guys, we're going to go with the next Tony Martin album, if you're following along here. The first with Tony Martin on it that was actually recorded with Ray Gillen on vocals. So there's obviously a whole ton of lore and backstory there that's even more interesting and adds just more lore to these eras of the band that I absolutely love. But we're going to talk about The Eternal Idol. This is the Record Store Day release that came out a few years ago. But Eternal Idol is a really good record. I don't think it's as good as Headless Cross or even Tear, but it's a really solid album. And there's a couple of songs I could have picked on here. The Shining is a killer opener. Absolutely adore The Shining. I went with Ancient Warrior, though. I love the main riff. I love Iommi soloing on it. It's a very Eastern influenced. Kind of sounds like you're, I don't know, going through Egypt or somewhere. It's really, really cool. And it's a kind of a mid-paced galloping main riff that's super menacing and dark that drives the song along. I dig it a lot. The keys, like I said, the keyboards in this era are awesome. Very thick atmosphere with the keys. Really good Tony Martin vocal. And it's another Tony Martin era banger, man. It stands up to other eras. This record, Headless Cross, Tear, I think they stand up really well to other eras of the band. And I think they nailed it for what they were trying to do. Yeah, they nailed it. Like I said, The Shining, also a really killer track from this. But for my money, I would go with Ancient Warrior. Alrighty, guys, let's go to another era and another stellar lead singer. Let's talk about Seventh Star. This is an OG Record Club pressing. It just got a Record Store Day release that I picked up too. That's really good. Sounds really good. It's a remaster from the original analog tapes. It's not super different. Obviously, it's just a remaster. You're gonna have to remix it if you want it to sound super crazy different. But I feel like there's more bottom end to it and just cleaned everything up pretty nicely. I probably prefer the remaster, honestly, over the OG. But let's talk at the album. Glenn Hughes comes in on vocals. Everybody knows the story on this. It was supposed to be a Tony Iommi solo record, label pressure, stuff like that, led it to be released under the Black Sabbath banner. So I'm going to include it here. Song that I chose, could have chose the title track. Title track is awesome. It's really kind of a spooky vibe to it and fits in kind of in other eras of Sabbath and is a standout from this record because it doesn't sound like the rest of it. But I chose Heart Like a Wheel. I absolutely adore that song. It's a bluesy filled ballad. You get a stellar vocal from Glenn Hughes on it. Some of Iommi's all-time best soloing on Heart Like a Wheel. I know that's kind of blasphemous, but I mean it. You get his best soloing on it, and he really shows off his versatility as a guitar player. It's not a typical Tony Iommi song that you would think of in the Black Sabbath style. Like, it's really bluesy, really soul-filled song. I absolutely love it. And the song is basically 6 minutes, honestly, of Tony solos with Glenn Hughes offering up syrupy, soulful vocals over top. It's a stellar song. So yeah, Heart Like a Wheel, that comes in at number 4. Alrighty, guys, let's go to another lead singer and another era of the band. We're going to talk about Black Sabbath's Born Again with Ian Gillan on vocals. A couple tracks I could have picked on here, but easily my favorite song on this record is Disturbing the Priest. Ian Gillan sounds like an absolute madman on that song. He sounds like a madman throughout the whole record, but Disturbing the Priest is like a truly evil sounding Iommi riff with classic geezer bass on it. The muddy mix of this record too really adds to that song. I'm curious if we ever get the remix for this that Tony has talked about for that feels like decades now. If we ever get that remix of it and what it does to Disturbing the Priest, it's easily my favorite track off Born Again. I think for my mind, it's one of the darkest Sabbath tunes just because of what Ian really brings to the vocal department. And that riff, that main riff that drives the song is just muddy and crunchy and sounds absolute evil. But yeah, Gillan pulls off these vocals. Only he can do it too, because outside of that, it would probably sound cheesy as hell. So yeah, I chose Disturbing the Priest off Born Again. That comes in at number 3. Alrighty guys, let's get into some absolute bangers of albums. Let's get into the Ronnie James Dio era proper. We had a little detour with Dehumanizer, but let's talk about 2 albums that I absolutely adore. Let's talk about Black Sabbath's Mob Rules. Obviously could have chose probably any track on this record. It's a 10 out of 10 album. I chose Sign of the Southern Cross though. It's a crushing main riff, awesome dark atmosphere. It's a slow burn of a song. It features some of Ronnie's best work with the band that he did under the Sabbath umbrella. Great keys again. The keys add a ton. I think it's the very best Black Sabbath epic of all time, of any era, easily. Awesome drum fills by awesome drumming, and specifically his fills, Vinny's fills on this song are awesome. And you get obviously a stellar production by Martin Birch. It's a standout 10 out of 10 album, but Sign of the Southern Cross stands out on a 10 out of 10 album. And you could honestly make the argument here that Sign of the Southern Cross is one of the best metal songs of all time, and easily one of the best Black Sabbath songs of all time. I stand by that. So yeah, Sign of a Southern Cross, 10 out of 10 song, easily essential non-Ozzy Sabbath. Alrighty guys, so let's go to the album that really started it all for me, a classic, another 10 out of 10 banger of an album. Let's go with Black Sabbath, Heaven and Hell. And I could have chose, obviously, a ton of tracks off this. Die Young is one of my favorite Black Sabbath songs of all time. Super heavy. Love the lyrics. Love Ronnie on it. But I chose the title track. It might sound a little cliche. I think that title track just means so much to this era of the band. And this album and that song made me fall in love with Black Sabbath. And finding other eras of the band, I fell in love with Iommi and Ronnie through that song, and then subsequently this record. Features one of the very best bass tracks ever laid down by Geezer. That nice gallop, boom, 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 throughout the whole song. Absolutely love it. I never get tired of it. It's one of Ronnie James Dio's defining vocal performances of his entire career. I would venture to say, especially live versions of it, he absolutely killed it. The Iommi solo, it's a classic, stands up to the test of time, one of my favorites of all time. Easily a top 10 Iommi solo for me, maybe even top 5. It's a song I never tire of. It's a standout on a 10 out of 10 album. It's well worth the hype and well worth the listen. So yeah, guys, Heaven and Hell comes in at number 1 on my top 10 non-Ozzy Sabbath songs. Alrighty, guys, that was super fun. I love to talk about non-Ozzy Sabbath. Like I said, it's one of my favorite things to talk about in all of metal, even all of music, just because the craziness and all the lore behind all these records and lineup changes and the fighting and the drugs and all of it's just in the labels getting involved. All of it's just super interesting to me. And it's amazing that Tony kept it going for as long as he did. I think a lot of the guys that were in these eras of the band, like Cozy Powell, especially Tony Martin, are severely underrated and underappreciated. We got some stellar albums in these eras. So if you've never listened to these records, I suggest give them a shot, man. Go into them with an open mind and you should be pleasantly surprised. I'm a simp for these eras, man. I know. I love Black Sabbath proper. I absolutely adore those classic albums, but for me, I will defend these records until the day I die. But anyways, guys, if you made it this far, hit the like button, subscribe, comment down below what are some of your favorite non-Ozzy Sabbath songs. What are your favorite Black Sabbath songs in general? Let me know, and I'll see you next time. Peace.